Light symbolizes brightness and prosperity. It removes the fog, it removes the force, it removes the faces of darkness and gives us positivity. In spiritual world, light means life. So we can also think of light as giving a new direction in life. With this label thought and a noble thought, let us start this webinar by lighting the e-lamp in front of Goddess Saraswati. May the divine power bless us all. Prayer works wonders. Prayer should spring from the heart. Thinking of a supreme power beyond all human inadequacies is a kind of auto-suggestion. Now I request Ms. Tanmayi for a prayer song.
महागणपतिं मनसा स्मरामि महागणपतिं मनसा स्मरामि महागणपतिं महादेवसुतं महादेवसुतं गुरुगुहनुतं महादेवसुतं गुरुगुहनुतं मारकोटि प्रकाशं शान्तं महाकाव्यनाटकादिप्रियम् महाकाव्यनाटकादिप्रियं मूषिकवाहनमोदकप्रियं महागणपतिम्. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tanmayi. This e-lamp lighting, with this, may the darkness of ignorance be swept away by the dawn of self-realization. Now I request our principal sir, Dr. P. Srinivas Babu Garu, to address the gathering. Sir, please.
Thank you, Joseph. Good morning to all the participants, panelists, and our today renowned speakers, Dr. Sharmila Kaza and Dr. Karthik Rakam. So, on the topic of inspiring talk by healthcare professionals, so I would like to thank the speakers on behalf of Vignan Pharmacy College and heartily welcome to all the participants for today's webinar on inspiring talk by healthcare professionals. As I know, Dr. Karthik Rakam is active and very inspiring personality in the pharma field, so enlightening all the pharmacy students. So on behalf of Vignan Pharmacy, I am very thankful to you, Karthik Rakam, for accepting our invitation and sparing your valuable time with us. And similarly, Dr. Sharmila Kaza, madam, also, I personally invite you, madam, next after COVID, once you have to visit our campus, and all the students and participants for this webinar on the today's very inspiring topic. And I heartfully thank to the Dean Academics, Mr. Satish Guttipati, in spite he is not there in India. So hope with his inspiration, all the faculty who has worked for this webinar. So I personally thanks the organizing secretaries, Dr. Sheikh Sharmila, Dr. M. Satyavati, Dr. G. Shravan Jyoti, Dr. P. Shivaram, and student coordinators Santosh Kumar and Tanmay. All the participants, on behalf of Vignan Pharmacy College, we welcome you, madam. I request the section to be taken by the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. G. Shravanajyoti ma'am to read out the profile of Dr. Sharmila Kaja. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Nisi Joseph. I, Dr. G. Shravanajyoti, Assistant Professor, Department of Pharmacy Practice from Vignan Pharmacy College. This is my privilege to introduce Dr. Sharmila Madam, Consultant Pediatrician, Apollo Hospitals, Jubilee Hills, Hyderabad. Ma'am completed her MBBS MD Pediatrics from Osmania, and she is a Senior Consultant Pediatrician at Apollo Hospitals. And she has professional experience of 17 years post-MD. And she presently handling outpatient care, inpatient care, and all pediatric emergencies, including attending labor calls and managing neonates who need level 3 care as consultant pediatrician in Apollo Hospitals and Apollo Cradle, Jubilee Hills, Hyderabad. And she is an honorary associate professor of pediatrics and pediatric discipline coordinator for MD program at Macquarie University, Sydney, Australia. Previously, she is an online tutor for International Pediatric Certification course, Sydney Medical School, Australia. And she is an honorary associate at Sydney Medical School. And she is also a tutor for fellowship in pediatrics, Medvarsity, Apollo Health City. Ma'am received many prestigious awards. She received Vaidya Ratna Award 2017 for Excellence in Pediatrics, Telangana State. And she is also awarded with Excellence in Pediatrics, and she has for her outstanding achievement in medical field by Indian Solidarity Council. And she is also awarded with National Mahila Ratna Award for Women Achievers by International Institution of Education and Management. Ma'am also received Vaidya Vibhushan Award by Fourth Screen Communications 2019. She received Women Excellence Award at Indian Women Summit by Way Foundation, August 2019. Ma'am also received Indian Leadership Award at Indian Leadership Summit, October 2019. Not only professional wise, she is also actively participated in many social awareness programs, and she is a good social activist also. She started a series of parent education videos about child health care on YouTube in conjunction with iDream Health. She involved in parent awareness programs involving various topics on child health care in multiple TV channels in Telangana like TV9, NTV, ETV Telugu, ETV Life, Vanita TV. And she actively involved in creating awareness about COVID-19 pandemic through various platforms like TV, radio, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. And she actively involved in discussions and debates on school level interventions to decrease violence against women organized in various TV channels. Thank you, ma'am. With this opportunity, I would like to invite our today's honorable speaker, Dr. Sharmila ma'am, to take the session on the topic roles and responsibilities of clinical pharmacist in pediatrics. Thank you, ma'am. With this opportunity, I would like to invite you, ma'am, to take the session.
Am I audible?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, and okay. So there won't be any video. It will be like this, only the audio going on for this meeting. Okay, now I think I'm visible also. Is this okay? Comfortable? So first, I think I need to thank Karthik for connecting me to all of you. And my association with Karthik is of many years. He was a PharmD intern with the, there was a very liberal and nice introduction to me, out of which I think the most important thing relevant for today's presence here uh, is that I am a tutor to the PharmD interns for the last 10 years. So this is what got me associated with pharmacy graduates, and most importantly, a very special person, that is Karthik. He continues to inspire me, and I wish him all the best with all his endeavors. And through Karthik, today I got to meet all of you. Thank you for providing me this platform and this opportunity. I'm not sure whether I can inspire many people on the first go, but I would definitely like to share a couple of my experiences and my own experience as a tutor to farm day students. And when I have all these postings with the farm day interns here, one after the other, they keep coming, and to get the clinical experience, I actually greatly appreciate this part of the curriculum that they have tailored, because this is the actual essence of all your training, to be the interface between the patients and the doctors, and also to contribute to both of them, both to the patients as well as to the doctors. So this is a very key role, a vital role, and a very contributory role in various ways. This particular meeting, I insisted that it be very short and crisp, because this is a online meeting, and I don't want to take too much time or bore the students or the spectators. So, when I start off, I first thank all of you to be patiently here and to give me this opportunity. See, the first thing that I would like to tell any of these children coming into courses, whether it's a pharmacy graduate or a medical graduate or any other graduate, after class 12, the most important thing you need to know is what have you to expect from your teachers. I think most of the students, even back then, even I didn't know what teaching would be like, because you are like safely cushioned, cocooned, spoon fed, mollycoddled, and then thrown into the jungle. So at this point, you will be expecting someone to hold your hand and take you forward. Yes, hand holding will be done, but then there won't be spoon feeding. The role of the teacher here in PharmD or any of these graduate programs will be like to stimulate you, to guide you, and to show you the path. Finally, you have to make your own path. You have to procure all your tools and then go on your journey. So, when I come back to the main topic that I would want to talk to you, there are two things that I would want to address. The first thing is about the role of a pharmacist in pediatric practice. Few anecdotes that I have seen their role impacting patient care. Then what is new and what is where you people can innovate and do certain things is the second one. And the third one, I never end any of my talks without sharing my thoughts about, in general, about life. So when I start off, it's going to be a very short one. So I'll only give you anecdotal things. When it comes to pediatrics, just like in any other specialty, the role of the pharmacist will essentially have the same things, something like you providing drug information, everything, the pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics, everything about the molecule. And when I ask students to present, I usually tell them, read the history of the drug. Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, why should you read the history of the drug is, unless you know why this particular molecule has evolved, you will never know how else to improvise it. There will be a story behind each drug, how it got evolved, each class or groups of drugs. If you read into the medical history, it's very interesting, like the discovery of penicillin, if I have to quote. I mean, it was an accidental discovery, and someone didn't clean the table. There was a growing mold, and how it got killed. This is the story behind penicillin. And you know how much of a phenomenon penicillin is, and how it changed the face of mankind. I can say mankind. So you need to know the history of the drug. And then you go into knowing the pharmacokinetics and the dynamics. Why is this important? Because this will let you know how frequently you have to dose, how it's going to act and alter various things to the patient. And in pediatrics in particular, one thing is extremely important, and that is to know the dosages. And dosages, unlike in adult patients, we want you to learn it as milligram per kilo per dose or milligram per kilo per day and divided into how many days. And interestingly, in pediatrics particularly, it will be about the neonate, a child, and the adolescent or the adult child, what we call. So the dosages are very different across all these age groups, and knowing the correct dosage is extremely important. At this point, I'll tell you one anecdote that I encountered, and it is about this. I mean, I have explained clearly and prescribed Domstal suspension versus Domstal drops. I don't prefer prescribing Domstal drops because each ml contains 10 milligrams versus a syrup or a suspension wherein it is about 1 milligram in 1 ml. It's almost 10 times the dose. So what happened, in spite of explaining it also, the patient went and bought Domstal drops and gave the dosage written for a syrup. So this particular neonate got dosed about 10 times more. So this is how it is important to know the dosage and also the formulations. Formulations are extremely important because each formulation carries a different dosage per ml, whether it is a drops or a syrup. This is one thing very exclusive to pediatrics, unlike in adult medicine. Then the next place for you will be to suggest drug interactions. This is also extremely important. We need to know when we are using multiple drugs, you need to tell us which drug interacts with what. Now here I'll tell you one example. There was this huge uproar about hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin being used in combination. This is one classic example wherein the drug interactions can cause serious problems. Both the drugs, they have their effect on the QT interval. And then this is what actually spiraled into an international controversy. I'll get back to this at a later date when I'm addressing about COVID and the drug usage. So like this, drug interactions are extremely important. I have seen one child who got admitted for pyrexia of unknown origin, and then this child was being treated with both anti-malarials, quinine, and also azithromycin to cover for the atypical organisms. And this is where the child started developing an arrhythmia. And then we had to recheck the dosage of quinine and stop azithromycin. So this is how, wherein you will obviously, these drug interactions play an important role. And then the next thing would be, suppose I started treating a patient wherein, the antibiotic, the child in an ICU on presumptive drug therapy because he's already in septic shock, not recovering. And then we get the blood culture. Role of a pharmacist for me in this particular setting will be to suggest alternatives, looking into the rest of the prescription also, then guiding me through the antibiotic choice and dosage, and then drug administration modalities. Here I'll tell you one more interesting incident that I encountered. Only after this incident, it became very important for me to again cross check whether the nurses are being instructed properly or not. This is one episode of a child admitted with urinary infection wherein ofloxacin was being prescribed intravenous because the child also had severe UTI amounting to pyelonephritis. Ofloxacin was chosen and the nurse was instructed to give it as an infusion. While the message didn't go down well, in spite of being written in the case sheet, the nurse administered it as an IV injection. And at this point, the child had a near cardiac arrest. Because it was in hospital wherein the emergency was quite close, the child was resuscitated. But then here, it shows how important as to how you're, even in the intravenous therapy, how important is it to infuse and also to inject? How different are they? So this is where these are the points that need to be highlighted by a pharmacist. This will definitely impact the outcome. It is life and death sometimes. And then the next thing would be to review the outcome. Is this drug working well? In how many patients are we successful in treating by using this drug? We can have our own studies, our own data. When you have seen the COVID scenario right now, you must have realized that data from Indian patients, data wherein how COVID is behaving in the Indian scenario, there is a huge dearth in research and development, R&D in our country, both with regards to patients, demographics, then how the disease is behaving, how well we are responding, why is it that it is less severe in our country. All this is so blind, and then we are only following the West. So we can devise our own studies to know how drugs are working in our population, in our setups, with the drawbacks that we have. And one very important thing is the prescription error. See, this I will not, I cannot quote particular drugs, but then I will tell you one very real incident wherein, in a discharge summary, a vitamin preparation was misspelled, and this resulted in the patient being given an oral hypoglycemic agent, which led to hypoglycemic coma and the patient landing in vegetative state. So this is the importance of pharmacy, drugs, pharmacist, and your contribution to patient care. So I cannot overemphasize the importance of a pharmacist. So these are the usual places wherein we actually need you and act as an interface between us and the patients. Regarding the drug administration, I'll tell you one more interesting episode wherein a postnatal baby who was delivered, went home, came back for the postnatal check, has come back, and I was just asking them about, okay, are you giving vitamin drops and all these things? While interacting with them, they told me, yes, ma'am, we are giving these drops in the eye. I was aghast because it is very clearly written. Know why this patients thought they have to be given into the eye. And then I went into the history. They told me, ma'am, there was an eye infection in the hospital and Toba eye drops were prescribed to the baby. And we thought we have to continue these drops in place of Toba eye drops after discharge. And it's lucky that the child came back 2-3 days later for a postnatal check, and I corrected the misconception. So this is where at discharge, Drugs have to be explained in detail without any presumption about the patient's understanding, their mode of administration, their dosage. Even if it is printed, they probably do not check it properly and they do their own innovative, funny things. And so the rest of the drug interactions that I face, these things I've already gone through. So these are some of my personal experiences wherein it really mattered. It's about life and death sometimes, or loss of important abilities. So then I shift to the next thing that I would like to talk is these two interesting things. One of them is pharmacogenomics genetics, and the other is over-the-counter drugs. Why am I addressing this? The first one, pharmacogenomics, is a new area which is definitely going to change the face of our practice and also the role of a pharmacist. Why will it change the role of a pharmacist? Because you will be prescribing, you will be the people who will be suggesting which patient needs a genomic or a genetic analysis, and how this genetic analysis is going to improvise the drugs that are being used to the patient. This is the whole thing about the concept of pharmacogenomics, is about studying the genetic variations and the impact of these genetic variations in the drugs, the action of the drugs, the adverse reactions of the drugs, and why a particular drug is not acting similarly in two different kinds of patients. So this is going to hold a lot of promise. And at this point, I'd like to tell you these things. I've seen some interesting 2 or 3 studies while I was browsing about pharmacogenomics. One of them is for the pediatrics, it's about the neonates. This study is about role of OPRM1 clinical and anthropometric variants in neonatal pain reduction by Ilaria Urbi et al. So what is this study about? This study is about studying the genetic variations in neonates, how much their pain is alleviated by the analgesic use, and in children undergoing small procedures, the pain is alleviated by giving them oral 33% dextrose solution. And for proper procedures, there are pain medications, analgesia that is being given. So the study aimed at knowing why certain babies, is there any difference at all in the pain perception for the same amount of dosage between two different children, and how the genetic analysis is affecting this difference. How well an analgesic is acting for one baby versus the other. But why so much of, why should you read about this at all? Why is pain important in a neonate? It'll be surprising for you to know, but pain in the neonatal age group, multiple episodes, the intensity, the chronicity is going to affect the developmental. It can affect the cognitive development of a child. It can affect the emotional intelligence of a child in later life. So pain management is that important. And that is why, because a neonate cannot tell you that your pain medication is acting, not acting, there is a specific scoring system. And when we recognize that a particular medicine is not acting enough, then we need to tailor make these drugs for them. And that is where pharmacogenetics comes into play. This particular study has proven that there is a difference in this particular mutation or this particular gene being homozygous versus other children who are not having this genomic variant. So this is definitely useful, and similar studies, there are so many studies. I do not want to quote everything now because I want to make it very short. So pharmacogenomics or genetics is about one drug for all versus tailoring the drugs for each one, and it will be like a customizing the drugs in future for each single patient. The next thing that I would want to bring to light is about the over the counter drugs. Why is this important? It will be surprising for all of you to know that in urban Delhi, you leave the rural areas, over the counter drug usage is about 91, a staggering 91%, which is something that you cannot expect in urban Delhi where people are very educated. There are certain, in India, there are not proper studies, but it varies between about 23% to 91% across various geographical distribution. And why, I mean, I'm telling you these numbers because it is so important that we at least now formulate a proper strategy for over the counter drugs versus prescription drugs. India still doesn't have a proper hard and fast formulation for this, unlike in other countries like US, Canada, Japan, UK. And in the world, the maximum usage of OTC drugs is in UK. We are not far behind, and we need to have a particular formulary for this and particular act in place, laws in place, and segregation into over the counter and prescription drugs. So why is it so widespread in India or any other country? It is because they find it very easy, and in places where there is no access to medical care, particularly it is easy in rural areas where the patient doctor population is very abysmal, and access to a doctor and affordability to go to a doctor, to spend the time, to spend the money, to go and reach a doctor sometimes even is difficult. This is the reason why OTC have become very common. Is there an advantage? Yes, it does alleviate problems for people with no access to medical care. Are there disadvantages? Huge disadvantages. This will cause drug resistance, and extremely important ill effect is about the drug abuse. You will be surprised to know that there are about 3.1 million people over the age of 12 years in US who have admitted to abusing drugs because they're freely available over the counter at least once in their lifetime. So before we reach there, or are we already there? I'm not sure because we don't have data. And what are the drugs in the Indian scenario till now that we have recognized that are being very misused are the cough medication and the antihistamines, and obviously all the psychiatry medication, antidepressants. So where is your role here? Why is it that I am addressing this to you? The reason is you are all in between the patients and the doctors, and you are a part, an important part of the healthcare. So wherever possible, you have to educate patients, everyone around you, general public, that medicine is not candy. You need to have a prescription. You cannot blindly follow your previous prescriptions, or you'll be surprised some people follow other people's prescriptions, neighbors' prescriptions. Then we all of us have this Google prescription anyway. They just Google the drugs, go buy, use in their own way. And I have encountered so many well-educated parents prescribing, self-prescribing antibiotics to their children and taking them over the counter. So this, I don't need to emphasize why it is dangerous. This has led to the superbugs, the drug resistance that all of us are battling. So I would want you people to address this in all your forums. And then we shift to the next topic is COVID and the role of the pharmacist. In COVID-19, this day, this is the main important thing that is scaring everyone, that is being talked exhaustively, and all of us are already exhausted talking about this. But then, as a pharmacist, I would appeal to you to be a part of the community education about how to prevent COVID infections, right from hand washing, mask usage, and physical distancing, to also making them aware that they have to reach the doctor when such and such a symptoms are there. For that, you are the people in community. If you have noticed, during the extreme lockdowns also, all the pharmacies are open for obvious reasons, because this is a life saving thing. And in a pharmacy, the pharmacist there can educate the parents or educate the patients, educate the public, whoever is coming in, and at the same time protect himself. If he is up to date with whatever is happening, he will know how to protect himself from the huge risk that this frontline healthcare worker, that is a pharmacist, is put up with. And sometimes when the health system is overwhelmed, which happened in Europe, pharmacists also can refill the drugs, can maintain the continuity of care for all the chronic patients. And then in COVID-19, particularly in overwhelming work situations, pharmacists have a major contribution to make by virtue of literature reference. Which drug acted how in the past, which is the one we can try now, which is the drug which probably might be effective, and all these literature reference and suggestions. Your role is very important here. And when you come to the hydroxychloroquine scandal that I was talking about, you will be surprised to know that India provides about, India and China combined, I think they provide about 80% of the raw material, that is the active ingredients to all the drugs that are being made in many important drugs that are being made in Europe, US, and everywhere else in the world. And this is where our hydroxychloroquine came into play. And a huge scandal was unearthed saying they were trying to debunk hydroxychloroquine because it's a cheap drug, but highly effective. And the studies that were quoted, ended up being wrong because of the dosage that was quoted. It was almost many times, maybe 3 to 4 times more than the dosage that was effective, that could have been effective in these patients. And this dosage was quoted, and it was quoted that hydroxychloroquine was causing many drug interactions and side effects and deaths without proper evidence. So this is where a pharmacist could have contributed and brought it to the notice of the international journals, saying, no, this is not true. This is not the dosage that needs to be given. And right now, there are important journals, international journals like Lancet and New England Journal of Medicine have withdrawn that publication, which was debunking hydroxychloroquine, which is a very cheap drug. So this is where the role of the pharmacist comes into play. So what are the lessons learned from COVID? These are general life lessons that I would wanted all of the students to know. COVID just told us how well connected the entire world is, because a small virus, which is probably many millions times smaller than us, could just travel within no time all over the world, affecting everyone. Over 200 countries are affected. Their economies are in doldrums. And the way that we lived and the way that we are going to live is determined by one small virus which traveled within no time all over the globe. So this also awakened us to the possibility of a biological warfare This might not have been a biological warfare, but this shows us the potential for a biological warfare in future. And this is the reason why we need to have checks and balances for every discovery that we make and every innovation that we make. And this also brought us to the notice of how balance in ecosystem is needed, how we cannot disturb nature too much, how we should live, but also let live all the other species on this planet, or else how zoonotic diseases can lead to extinction of races also. Sometimes this is just a small warning. And everyone who is privileged, they also have to realize that they have responsibilities. How is this shown? Even if you are very conscious about your health, even if you are doing all the right things, it's not enough. That is very evident by the way the virus is spreading and where all it is spreading. There are slums which have never been taken care of. There are people whose lives never mattered. But right now, you have realized that uplifting everyone around you is the only way that you can be safe and you can uplift yourself. So these are some good lessons that COVID-19 has taught us. And then I come to the next slide, and a little small thing before I end the session is about my advice to all the students always is about how you balance your life. You do have goals, that's very important. But what is more important than anything is, if not in the same order, these are other important things that I would like to emphasize on. The first thing is health. Every single person on this earth, this is something extremely valuable, and this is what is shown in this pandemic too. What are the three important things to maintain your health? The first thing is diet. The second thing is exercise. When I say exercise, it's not just about the physical exercise, it's about exercising, relaxing, rejuvenating your mind too, and that is about meditation. And sleep. The next biggest threat to the globe is sleeplessness, thanks to the one of the reasons being the gadgets. So monitor your sleep, please. All of you, at least all adults, should be sleeping anywhere between 6 to 8 hours compulsorily. This is what is going to affect your immunity much more than anything else. Give value to real relationships. All of you are lost in the virtual relationships. Yes, virtual relationships teach you a lot, like what we are having right now. But real relationships are extremely important, and virtual relationships can never take their place. Set a goal, walk slowly towards it, have short-term goals and long-term goals. Get aware about your environment. Unless you preserve your environment, you are going to grow extinct. Read, read, and read. It's very interesting to know that almost this is one important quality which is common to all successful people. You'll be surprised that someone as big, as important as Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, whose schedules are so tight, they read about a book a week, which is like a staggering thing to achieve. If not 50 books a year, at least make it lower, maybe 8 to 10 books a year at least. Please read. You know why reading is important? Because it is a small capsule which gives you the entire experience of a person. And give back to the society. Mentor someone who needs your advice and be charitable in your own way. So this is how you balance your life. And finally, success. People are running behind unknown destinations, unknown races, and not appreciating life. Please appreciate life. Life is the most important thing. And about success, I'll quote Winston Churchill, who says, success is not final and failure is not fatal at all. People are killing themselves for failures. Please do not do that. The most beautiful thing about life is life itself, living itself. You will always have opportunities. And if one door is closed, there is something opening somewhere. Just look around. If you have failed in a certain thing, it means you probably have to change the course. It is the courage to continue that counts. And the next slide shows you how many times the super successful Elon Musk, who is worth 14.8 billion, this is the graph of all his failures before he became the legendary Elon Musk. And he continues to fail and he will continue to succeed. And at the end, the last thing that I would like to say, quote this man who had a huge impact on designing cities. What is the cause of misery? Most of you must be wondering and thinking it's the world that is causing the misery. No. Please read this carefully. It is our misery arises from ourselves. It's inside us. Try to change yourself if you're feeling miserable rather than trying to change the world. It's your own expectations that hurt you, not the world you live in. Whatever happens in the world is real. What you think should happen is unreal, and people are hurt by their expectations. You know, you're not disappointed by the world. You're disappointed by your own projections. With this, I thank everyone for patiently giving all this big time for me. A big thank you to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing your realistic examples where pharmacist has role and responsibilities in pediatrics, not only in pediatrics, during COVID-19 pandemic also. And thank you, ma'am, for mentoring how to maintain the balancing life during pandemic also. And now many of our students will also realize that how important the clinical pharmacist role in hospitals. Thank you, ma'am. And now we go with the question and answer session, ma'am.
I think I've overshot my own time, and I
Okay.
know it's very rude to do that. I think you should go on to the next presentation. Karthik must be waiting.
Okay, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You can forward those questions. I will answer them on a private chat.
Sure, ma'am.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Karthik.
That's okay. Actually, maybe you can take one or two questions if somebody is really interested to ask.
Okay. Okay.
But I don't know how many of them will show interest to ask. So,
No, I think you should go ahead. I'll answer the questions
okay.
on a private chat. You can just forward the same questions to me on the WhatsApp.
Okay.
Mhm.
With this, I will move forward this session. And now I request Dr. Sharmila ma'am, Assistant Professor, Vignan Pharmacy College, to read out the profile of our second speaker. Last but not least, our most inspiring and interesting speaker, Dr. Karthik Rakam, PharmD Medical Advisor. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Nissi Joseph. I, Dr. Sheikh Sharmila, Assistant Professor, Department of Pharmacy Practice from Vignan Pharmacy College. This is my great pleasure to read out the profile of Dr. Karthik Rakam. Dr. Karthik Rakam is a PharmD graduate from the first batch of PharmD in India, that is from 2008 to 2014 batch. He is President of Pharmacon Society for Pharmacy Practice and also working as Medical Advisor for Health Cloud AI, an artificial intelligence based startup established with the aim of bringing positive change in the Indian healthcare using artificial intelligence. In the month of May 2020, he was inducted into core committee of Punjab Telemedicine Expert Committee. He is trained to work as clinical pharmacist in tertiary care center. He has designed optimal therapeutic regimen in complicated cases of TB and HIV. He made 85 interventions during internship. He is experienced in providing clinical pharmacy services like prescription audit, drug intending, IV admixture prescription, ADR monitoring, prevention, and management. He is resource person for pharmacy academia on educational initiative by Pfizer to impart training to practicing pharmacists. He is resource person for continuing pharmacy education programs for community and hospital pharmacists, faculty development programs, and refresher courses for faculty. He is the winner of national level case study competitions conducted by IPA on occasion of World Pharmacist Day 2015. Subsequently, he went on to become the judge of same competition in 2018. He is evaluator of various events conducted by IPA during National Pharmacy Week celebrations. He is author of Drug Watch, a column dedicated to adverse drug reactions in IPA CPD E-Times, an official publication of Indian Pharmaceutical Association. Dr. Karthik has been resource person for over 50 conferences and conducted workshops in 75 colleges of PharmD across India. He is founder of an NGO, Heavens of Humanity, and volunteer with Isha Foundation. His professional objective is to use his knowledge and skills to change the way pharmacy is practiced in India. With this opportunity, I would like to invite our favorite speaker, Dr. Karthik sir, to take this session on the topic PharmD and pharmacy success stories. Sir, please.
Hello.
Sir.
Yeah, so can you project my slides?
Yes, sir.
So meanwhile, I thank Vignan College and all the organizers for this opportunity. And last year I was there, and this is one of the best hospitalities I got. Thank you, Principal Sir, Sati Sir, and all the team. And ma'am, actually, if you are online, sir requested you to make time and visit their campus sometime. I'm sure you will love that campus. A lot of students, greenery, and very well maintained.
I
The
will.
hospitality, enthusiasm of students is great.
Sure.
Yeah, so next slide. So I'll be just talking about few pharmacy graduates, most of them from the graduates who are enjoying a successful career now, with a hope that it will inspire you.
Oh, okay.
Next slide. So I'll not be talking about any the actual knowledge sharing. This is more of an inspiring session. And why I felt like taking this topic is many students approach me with many questions, and most of the time I think the reason why they are confused is they don't have exposure. So their exposure is very, very limited. For example, I might know more students in Vignan College than students in Vignan College itself. Okay. So sometimes I talk to say a fifth year student and I take names of 10 or 15 of their juniors and they will be surprised. They have never heard the names of their own juniors. So with that little exposure, they have made a lot of conclusions and most of those conclusions are false. So yeah, next. Next slide. Yeah. So most recently I have come across this guy. So his name is Dr. Hisham. He did his PharmD PB and is a clinical staff pharmacist at Cleveland Clinic in UAE. So when I got invitation to do this session, I approached him and requested him to see if I can talk about his journey. And these are the points he wanted me to share with you. So initially he gave an oral presentation in 2009 and he failed miserably. But later he overcome the fear of public speaking and he won the second prize in the very next conference. So from this, the take home point is you don't have to worry about what others think about you. So you can open up and speak your mind. Okay. So later he joined volunteer as a trainee in a drug and poison information center, and he updated his knowledge in toxicology. So volunteering for such programs will add a lot of value to your knowledge. And the most important thing here is during the training, he got in touch with a head of the critical care department, and he developed his interest in critical care. So later he participated in critical care 2006 16 conference, which is mainly for ICU physicians, and he was the pharmacist who won that contest. So he competed with a lot of ICU physicians, and finally he was the winner there, which I think is a very significant achievement. And later, if you remember, fourth year students, so there is a textbook called Toxicology from V.V. Pillai. So he got an award for his work in toxicology from V.V. Pillai. So I just read the textbook. I never got the chance to meet or talk to him. But Hisham won an award in toxicology from Dr. V.V. Pillai. And if you see his degree, it says BCCP, which stands for Board Certification in Critical Care Pharmacy. So this is one of the programs which you can do from India itself, but you should have some minimum years of experience before you can do that. So he's a board certified pharmacist in critical care. I think he is the first pharmacist from India to get that honor. Okay, so this why I wanted to tell was many students ask me what to do after family. So whatever you do, it should be productive and useful, and not just some other course where you waste 2 or 3 years of money and time. So board certification is definitely one option which you can consider. Next slide. So this is Saidulu. Again, he wanted me to share these 3 points with all of you. And the important lesson here is to find the right mentor who can support. And I was lucky to have a lot of mentors in 5th and 6th year. And definitely Sharmila ma'am is one among them. So a few days back, I was talking to her. I said I was fortunate to be in those hands who molded me to become what I am today. So Saidulu was working as an duty medical officer at one of the hospitals, and he did few interventions there. And one doctor appreciated his work, and the doctor recommended him to work as a clinical pharmacist under him. And the doctor name is Dr. Vishnu Rao sir. He's one of the ID consultant at Hyderabad. So he and Vishnu Rao sir and Saidulu, both of them have started a very good program in Yashoda. They have implemented the antimicrobial stewardship program, which is one of the best programs. So last year I got few interns from US to visit Yashoda Hospital and see the antimicrobial stewardship program which they have started, and they were very impressed. And yeah. So, and other thing which I wanted to tell here, Saidul is a certified, he did a certification program from Society of Infectious Disease Pharmacists. So you can note this down. And this is actually again one program which is really worth, and they will simply not give you a certificate. Okay, so these days you might be seeing on LinkedIn everybody posting at least 10 certificates in last 1 or 2 days. So getting, I don't give a lot of importance to certificate, is they simply give if you enroll. But this program involves a lot of sessions and examination. Once you pass that, you will get a certification. So this certification helped him to get his job now. So right now he's working as a geriatric clinical pharmacist for Summit Medical Consultants, which has their patients in US. So right now from India, he's managing US patients. So he gets all the US patients data electronically. He sits at the corporate office in Hyderabad, and he analyzes their cases as a pharmacist and give recommendations. Most of the recommendations are accepted by the physicians, even in US. So for him to get this opportunity, the certification from Society of Infectious Disease Pharmacists really helped him. And previously he worked at Yashoda. Initially he was a duty medical officer, but later he worked as an ID clinical pharmacist with specific focus on antimicrobial stewardship. Yeah, so these are the two examples of people who have done very well in clinical pharmacy, because most of the time students tell me they are interested in clinical pharmacy, but they think there is no growth. And I gave two examples, and there are a lot more people who are doing extremely well. Because we don't have time, I did not feel like talking about all of them. So I gave two examples. Even in clinical pharmacy, if you are really interested and passionate, if you do well, you can grow. Okay. So, and the next profile I'm talking about is Parsha Mehta. So I connected with him on LinkedIn 2 years back, and I invited him as a speaker to one of my conferences last year. So he works with Pumas AI as an associate scientist. So these are the three things which he wanted to share with us. So he got an international travel grant from International Society of Endocrinology for his work on imatinib. And the most important point which I want to tell here is, I think he's the first guy from PharmD to get into oncotherapeutics fellowship offered by Tata Memorial Center. So this fellowship is open for both MD, pharmacology and PharmD. So he failed in his first attempt. He cleared the exam, but he failed in interview. In second attempt, he qualified the interview and he did the fellowship there. And in fellowship, ideally, it is not fair to charge fee from the students. There are few fellowships. So they take money from students and give the same money back every month, which I think is unfair. So at Tata Memorial Center, he was getting a stipend of 53,000 per month. Okay. So you can imagine the amount of money. It's not just the money, but the kind of exposure he got. So there he was focusing more on the cancer studies, especially PKPD modeling and simulation, and working on all these softwares. Okay, so this is one more program after PharmD which you can do. So far I have discussed three. One is board certification, and second one is the certification from Society of Infectious Disease Pharmacist, and the third one is Oncotherapeutic Fellowship from Tata Memorial Hospital. So right now he's working as an associate scientist, mostly in the area of pharmacometrics, which is upcoming. And even I'm not sure what pharmacometric means and what he does there. Next. So this is Nandan. So he's working as an MSL at Amplity Health. He's handling both India and South Africa. So he's a PharmD graduate, passed I think in 2016. So earlier he was working as clinical pharmacist at Kim's Hospital, and he was doing his internship very well. So and consultant at that hospital was impressed with his work, and he directly spoke to Kim's director and recommended Nandan to work at Kim's. So he got an opportunity to work as a clinical pharmacist. So again, all these people I know them very well, and I called all of them for my conferences as speakers because I wanted people to know that there are many people doing extremely well after founding. So when I was talking to Nandan, he was telling me a few things which I want to share with you. So when he was working as a clinical pharmacist at KIMS, he was interested to know what are the different career options for people who have done MD in pharmacology. So there are some hospitals which has a clinical pharmacology department, and that clinical pharmacology department will be headed by MD in pharmacology. So this guy got interested to know what this MD pharmacology people do, along with means instead of just working as a clinical pharmacologist, what other options they have. So then he went to a conference along with them, and there he got to know about MSL, and he got an opportunity to work with Novartis at MSL as an MSL, and now he's working with Amplity Health, handling both India and South of India. So Nandan's passion is to travel. Now he is getting an opportunity to travel because of his work, and every expense is taken care by his company. He does not have to spend any money. Okay. So this is one position which many students are not might not be aware. So MSL position is one which farmers can do extremely well. So these people act as a bridge between the pharma company and the hospital and provide scientific knowledge. Next slide. Next slide. Yeah, this is Jagadish. He did his PharmD. After PharmD, he did MPH from I think KLE. Right now, he's working as scientist P for ICMR. So ICMR is in news for last 1 or 2 months since COVID has come into picture, and is actively involved in uh, the COVID work. So he is working as health technology assessment in India for ICMR, which is I think a very prestigious organization, and I'm proud that there are few more founders I think working at ICMR. So he worked as a WHO external monitor for intensified mission Indradhanush, which is the immunization project. And earlier he worked for ICMR and National Institute of Epidemiology at Chennai. So many scientists asked me if there is any opportunity for us in government. And this is one such opportunity. And I think right now he's very actively involved in all the COVID related efforts. Next slide. So he did his MPH after funding. And yeah, this is Dr. Suleiman, one of my best friends, and he has been speaker for almost all of my conferences. So he's right now working as a senior executive clinical pharmacology and pharmacokinetic investigator at Granules India. And as a part of his job, he conducted more than 240 PA/PE studies. So why I wanted to share his profile was bioavailability and bioequivalence studies are one area where pharmacist can really create an impact. And during his work as a pharmacokinetic investigator, so I don't know if how many of you might have heard this term pharmacokinetic investigator. Many students say there are no jobs. Then I say MSL, then I say health technology assessment, then I say clinical staff pharmacist, I say pharmacokinetic investigator. Then they will be surprised that there are a lot of positions which pharmacists can do. So he is an experienced pharmacokinetic investigator and handled more than 240 BA/BE studies, and he successfully faced all the major audits from US FDA, DCGI, WHO, etc., without any major findings. So currently, after he was working at Chennai, and he moved to Hyderabad now, working for Granules, and most of the time he travels. And he currently is involved in design, review, monitoring, data analysis, simulation, visualization of PK data obtained from bioequivalence studies, and he is also part of evaluation of IVIVC. So all these terms come across in our syllabus, but we never pay attention to them. And at least one, if you pay attention, that can be one career option for you. Okay. So what I meant to say is, even before entering into clinical trials, there are other areas where pharmacists can work, and Suleiman is a shining example of that. Next slide. Sure, this is my best friend Vardhan. So because audience might be from other backgrounds also, so I wanted to include few people who are doing extremely well after their bachelor's and masters. So Vardhan is working as a clinical site specialist for Alcon, which is I think world's best ophthalmology company. And right now he's handling medical devices. So he started his career as a clinical research coordinator for 7,000 rupees. So believe me, his starting place, his salary was 7,000, but he was extremely interested in clinical research and he did it well. And now he's clinical site specialist handling India, Singapore, and Philippines. So he handled a lot of studies like PK studies, stem cell therapy, phase 0 to phase 4 studies, nutraceutical studies, etc. And just like Sudhaman, he faced a lot of audits and without any findings. And recently he received 2 awards from his current organization and is nominated for a highest R&D award from his company. And the results, I think he said, are on June 11th. So I did not ask him what the result was. So yeah, but getting nomination itself out of the major company in the world itself is a big achievement. And he works with all key opinion leaders across India, and and he works with all the other people also, right, from finance, legal, procurement, regulatory, and other departments. So his job is extremely satisfactory, and he enjoys doing his job. So yeah, so he's a clinical site specialist, and he heads all the trials that happen through his company in India, Singapore, and Philippines. So you can reach that level if you are passionate about your work and don't worry about what this starting salaries. Next slide. And this is my classmate Raghavi. So I took her as an example to show you how you can grow in pharmacovigilance. So in internship, she joined a company called Vigilance Safe, and her initial posting was in Mumbai. Luckily, her family supported her, and maybe she convinced them. She went there. Because why I stress this point is many students ask me, "Sir, I stay at Miapur. Can you find some job near Miapur or JNTU?" That is the kind of expectations they have. Okay, so that might not always happen. So you should be ready to go outside for at least some time initially, and then you can always move back to the place you like and stay at your home and work. So she worked for a Cipla project, and then within 3 years of experience, she became associate manager. And right now, I'm very proud to share that she is a scientist for medication safety evaluation and risk mitigation. So I don't think any fund is working in this area. So you can grow here. So she just started as a drug safety associate maybe, and later within 5 years she became an associate manager, handling one or two teams. And right now she is into signal detection, which generally that role is taken by MD pharmacology and people with MBBS background. But she is a pharmacy and still she is doing that job. And she is my batchmate, passed in 2014. She is my classmate, and she is very early into career, maybe uh, 5 6 years of experience. She has a lot more time before her, and I think she can definitely reach very high position within 5-6 years time. And this girl is Sandhya, and she is Fandi PB. And why I wanted to talk about her is because she's working in scientific writing, and now she is a scientific writing lead with Indigi, and she's handling 2 teams now. And most of her projects are global projects with all the top healthcare professionals and pharma companies. So I think in 2015, she is a BPharm graduate, and she was doing job after her BPharm, but she was extremely passionate about PharmD because she wanted to do something in clinical and not the industrial aspect. So she quit her job, and then she approached me and asked my suggestion whether to join PharmD or not. So I told her the reality. I did not give all false expectation, etc. She joined Foundry, and once she finished Foundry, she attended an interview. She cracked the first interview without any training. So I'm stressing this point. You don't have to waste your money paying for training institutes who just cheat you, which is not really necessary. And right now, she's last time when I spoke with her, she was team lead, and now I think she has gone 2 or 3 positions higher. She's currently leading 2 teams, and she is handling a lot of projects with all the global clients. And when I chatted with her, she was extremely happy that she is getting to learn a lot of things. Okay, and this profile is of Potri, is one of my best students. So he's working as I shared his profile for 2 reasons. So right now he's working as an associate narrative writer for Novartis, and before that he worked as a clinical scientific expert with Novartis. So clinical scientific expert is one area which I wanted to tell where founders can work. So he worked as a clinical scientific expert, and then he shifted to uh, associate narrative writing. So this is what he told me. In his current position as associate narrative writing, the basic knowledge of drugs and diseases and his prior experience helps him to write the document with high quality and minimal effort. So there are other colleagues of his who are struggling to do that because they are not into all these things, right? So why I wanted to tell this with you is if you do your family well, whatever your job you take up, you will do it very easy with least possible effort, and you will grow very quickly. For others, it might take say 10 years to grow, but if you do it well, you can easily grow in say 5 years time. Okay, yeah, next. So this is, I think, most recently passed PharmD graduate. Her name is Saili, and she's working as a medical and scientific manager. And this is one more position where PharmDs can take up. So she manages all the scientific activities of Eldorado Biotech, which is based in Mumbai. Okay, and she's actively conducts continuing medical education programs for doctors, and she trains the medical sales force. So this position is ideally suited for pharma because all the pharma companies promote their products using medical representatives, and that medical representative has to be trained properly. And I know a few pharmacists who have taken up this role of training the medical representatives properly. And she also works in competitive intelligence and brand management because there are might be hundreds of brands of same molecule from different companies. So you should be able to show how your brand is better than the others. So there you need brand management, competitive intelligence, and managing the key opinion leaders. So I think she passed in 2018 or 19. So very recent graduate, but doing extremely well. And she shared with me that her company is trying to hire at least one more foundry in each department of theirs based on the work she has done. The company got impressed, and they are looking to recruit a lot of people from foundry background. And next. Yeah, so this is interesting. So he's my student Surya. He's right now heading the research R&D at Biofi. And he's an earlier he worked as an R&D scientist at Exceltech. Exceltech has nothing to do with healthcare. So they do a lot of uh, pollution control, air pollution, water pollution, and some home appliances. So while he was a student, he was working on developing some devices which control pollution. So based on this work, he got a opportunity to work as R&D scientist at Exceltech. And now the CEO of Exceltech and Surya together formed a company called Biofi. And Surya is heading the R&D division at Biofi. So right now there are 3 patents under various stages of application under his name. And one important thing which I wanted to mention is they are working on developing a non-invasive diabetic profiler. So because you don't have to prick and take the blood of patients, I think they will pass some radiation or some rays, and that gives all the profile to start with just maybe the blood glucose value, but later the other things also which can help in detecting diabetic complications at an early stage. So his startup Biofi was the winner of Elevate 100 in 2019, and they got an international recognition from government of Australia, and they got a lot of funding from lot of venture capitalists. Okay, so I shared his profile because startups are one area where founders can excel. Okay. So right now I'm working with a company called Health Cloud AI because I talked about startup. I wanted to talk about the startup also. So we developed a comprehensive clinical history taking platform because of the short consultation time and because of poor doctor-patient ratio. A lot of information is missed, and we don't have to blame doctors for that. They have to see say 100 to 200 patients each day. So it is extremely difficult for them to capture all the information in 2 or 3 minutes of consultation. So we have developed that, and why I'm telling you this is uh, there are a lot of families involved in developing this software. Okay, so right now we have 3 full-time families working with us and 8 part-time families working. And right now, initially we started with a history-taking platform. Now, because of COVID, we added teleconsultation aspect to that, and now we are planning to add the post-consultation aspect, where even Sharmila ma'am was talking, like patient education, counseling, and prescription audit for every aspect. Right. So once we do this successfully, definitely it will open up a lot of opportunities for us. And right now, what we are doing is we are generating clinical insights based on the history. Earlier, it was just history alone. Now, founders will be thoroughly reading that history which we capture and develop some clinical insights and share it with doctors, which help the doctor to take a proper decision. Okay, so we have 3 full-time and 8 part-time founders working with us, and right now we are developing a solution to also give a differential diagnosis. And founders are very critical in that means they are playing a huge role, and I think since last 2 months they are putting a lot of efforts for this software to come out. Yeah, next. So this is my message. So demonstrating our skills, not just talking about them, is the only way to succeed. And this is what we have done before lockdown, and we wanted to definitely do it in more hospitals after the lockdown gets over. So we went to a hospital called Landmark Hospital in Hyderabad. We requested them to allow us for internship, and we said we will implement few services. We implemented that services, and after that, doctors got extremely impressed, and they decided to recruit a clinical pharmacist at their hospital. And the MD of that hospital is a doctor from AIMS. So he said, I'm not very aware of antibiotics and painkillers. If family guys can educate me about these 2 classes of drugs, I don't mind sitting and listening and involving you in my decision making. So that is the support doctors give. So all we have to do is instead of simply blaming, we can just go and demonstrate our value. Then they will know it instead of simply telling in words. If you show in action, I don't think anybody will not accept. So maybe we don't expect everybody to accept, but say if you tell with 10 doctors or 10 hospitals, maybe 2 or 3 hospitals might agree, and that will open up 2 or 3 opportunities. So I think you can read what is written here. So he says, like because of overload, doctor might not look into all the aspects. So as a pharmacist, we can help there. And I just did a small survey in my WhatsApp groups, and I listed out all the uh, like positions where pharmacists are doing. So here, except clinical pharmacologist and clinical pharmacist, rest of them can be done by other pharmacy graduates also. It is not just limited to pharmacy. So B Pharm, M Pharm, people can also do all the other things except that clinical pharmacology part. So you can just read, and I can even share this slides with you. So these are a few more positions, and these are not an extensive list. So I just kept as a WhatsApp status, and whatever responses I got, I put them on slide. So not everybody sees my WhatsApp status, and not everybody who sees my status will respond. So whoever have responded, I have put all the positions here. And as I said, these positions can be taken by anybody. It is not just limited to family. So these are different organizations where students responded, and there are a lot more definitely. And these are different hospitals where families are working as a clinical pharmacist. So I see a positive thing here because maybe 5 years or 6 years before, no one even might have heard the term clinical pharmacist, or it might not be that famous. Now there are at least 100, hospitals where families are working as a clinical pharmacist, which I think is a very good step to start with. And it need not stop with these hospitals. It should extend to many other hospitals also. Yeah, so this is my conclusion. So generally doing family well is good enough to have a successful career. You don't have to do anything after family. If you do family well, that is good enough. And if you want to do, you can really do some programs which are meaningful, just like board certification and oncotherapeutic fellowship, etc. Or maybe MPH from really good institutes. You don't have to waste money and time doing additional courses which does not have any value. And don't measure your success in terms of the salary, at least during the initial days of your career. So maybe you will start low, but as time progresses and you start showing your value, definitely you will grow in terms of salary also, and also position. Okay. And many students think going abroad is the only way to succeed. That is not true. I don't say you should not go abroad. You can definitely go, but don't think going abroad is the sure way to get success. Okay, so all the examples I talked about, all of them are working in India except Isham. Isham was also working in India a couple of years back. Now he moved because he got a better opportunity. But all the examples I gave, all of them are working here. They are earning good money and they have very good position also. And most important thing is your career is your responsibility. It is not your teachers or college or PCI or government responsibility. Many students don't like me telling this, but finally it is your career and it is your responsibility. And whatever little support or guidance anybody can give, you can easily take. But you should not put your career responsibility into somebody's hands. Okay, and the one good thing that happened to me is I was always surrounded by people who always inspire me, and that is the reason why I am inspired. So if I was not surrounded by such people, maybe I would have not success. So surrounding yourself with people who can inspire you. And in my fifth year and sixth year family, that was the best days in my life. So I was surrounded by a lot of doctors who are great healthcare professionals, but most importantly, great human beings. I learned a lot of things from them, like their approach, their knowledge, the way they treat people, etc. Okay, and you don't waste money by falling into fraud institute, which charge a lot of money and uh, give you nothing. And definitely it is not required. And none of the people I talked here have took any training. Okay, all of them did that on their own. And the most important thing is scope does not depend on what course you do. It depends on how well you do whatever you do. Okay, so many people think if they have done some other course, they would have got success. But according to me, whatever course you do, it does not matter. Okay, so just doing family and getting a degree will not help. It all depends on how well you do whatever you do. So maybe I can, yeah, this is the end of my presentation. I will thank Vignan College for giving me this opportunity and all the organizing members who were involved in making this workshop happen. If there are any questions, I can take.
Thank you, sir, for your inspirational words, continuous supports to family students to learn therapy concepts in different ways to improve patient care and patient quality of life. And I finally thank you for accepting our invitation for this webinar to be happen, sir. Now I will hand over the session to Nissi.
Thank you, ma'am. Now this is a time for a short question and answer session, sir. So now I request any of the students who are having doubts with Karthik Ragam sir's session, you would please post your questions in the question and answer box of Zoom. And if somebody who are watching the live stream in YouTube, you can post your questions on the live chat.
And I'm always reachable. Don't think this is the only 5 minutes. So you can always reach me and you can take my contact details from organizers. And I can connect you with all the people I spoke about here. Okay, so because I'm not expert in everything, Say if it is clinical research, I can connect you with Vardhan. If it is PAPA, I can connect you with Suleiman. If it is oncotherapeutics in Tata Memorial Fellowship, I can connect you with Partial. Okay. So one question, can pharmacist work as duty medical officer? General, I don't recommend that. But if that is the only option, you can work. But instead of asking for a duty medical officer designation, you can ask for a clinical pharmacist designation. Because generally, according to my knowledge, MBBS is the qualification to work as a duty medical officer. Okay. So you might end up in trouble legally also. If something goes wrong, there might be trouble. So it is always best to work as a clinical pharmacist or ask the hospital to give you clinical pharmacist designation, but not a duty doctor designation. So can pharmacist work as physician assistant? Yes, you can work. But as I said, what is the role? I don't really care what designation they gave, means they gave you. But as a physician assistant, if they allow you to review the patient case sheet and identify the problems and rectify them, I think you can take that up. But generally, I strongly recommend pharmacists to work as a clinical pharmacist. But for some reason, if you don't get that opportunity, you can enter as a DMO, and even then you can convince them to shift to clinical pharmacist and not stop as a DMO. And that is what Saidulu did. So he entered as a DMO, but his work was impressive, and doctor recommended him to work as a clinical pharmacist under him.
Sir, there are few questions on the question and answer box, sir.
I'm interested in critical care, how to be successful in it. So right now you should spend more time in your internship in ICUs, okay, and start there. And for BCCP means, but for the board certification, it needs, as I said, 4 years of experience to get board certification in critical care. You should have a 4 years experience working as a critical care pharmacist, and then you can go for board certification. And this board certification will really help if you want to manage patients abroad. But if you want to manage Indian patients in Indian hospital, I think board certification is not mandatory, but it is always good to have it because that is not easy. And if you do the board certification, your knowledge will multiply. Can you please say us about internship program which we can do it from? See, right now, according to PharmD, we start going to hospital right from second year, right? So whatever little time you go, you try to make most out of it. There is no rule that you should go for internship only in sixth year. If you are really interested, you can go to hospital and ask them. Okay, and if they are interested, they can take you. So I know a lot of people. So I think I can talk about one example here. I know a student called Gautam. Right now he's working with HCG. So long back in 2014 or 15. So he was part of my WhatsApp group. He said suddenly sent me a message, sir, I want to meet you. Then I said, okay, you can meet me tomorrow. Then he said, sir, I came to Hyderabad and I want to meet. I said, okay, please come and meet me. He met me and he was telling that even after his internship, the official internship, he found a hospital nearby his home. So let us say internship ends at 5 p.m. in the evening. At 6 o'clock in the evening, he goes to some other hospital and do internship there from 6 to 10 in the night. Okay. So that is the kind of interest he showed. And he ended up getting a job in Mumbai first. And initially he was very hesitant to talk to doctors and communicate with them. He was trying to hide from them. But later he thought hiding will not help. He got courage. He faced them. He did some interventions. They were happy. And now he moved back to Bangalore. Okay. So for if you want to learn in whatever year you are, it does not matter. You can approach few people who can help. Okay. So there is nothing like best option. Okay. So whatever you do, again, as I said, there is nothing like best course, and at the same time, there is nothing like best option. So you should decide what you like, and you should go there, and you should do it well. Okay. So you can be a good academician, and that is what is needed in farming community now. So a lot of people are confused. So if you can become a faculty and inspire all your students and guide them, that would be the best thing to do. Okay? So there is nothing like where what is best profession, what is not best. Everything is best if you do it well. So you should choose based on your interest. So that is why I gave the diverse example. So I gave a person from clinical research, from pharmacovigilance, from PAB, from scientific writing, from startup world, as a clinical pharmacist, etc. So all of them have become successful, but none of them are in same field, right? So did I miss any questions? So there are a lot of online courses. Okay. So I can just tell, so maybe you can see WHO website. There are a lot of online courses, but make sure they simply don't give certificate. They will give certificate only after thorough evaluation. Only then that is course is worth doing. And for that, again, as I said, start with all the subjects and textbooks we have. And then once that is done, we can look for additional things. So yeah, maybe I can put my email ID in chat box. You can reach me on my email ID or even phone. If there are any specific questions, I can answer. That is what I said. No, scope does not depend on what profession you choose. Scope does not depend on which country you go. It all depends on how well you do whatever you are doing. Okay, it does not mean only you will become successful only if you go Gulf or some other country. With the hospital which we attend from second year, provide is internship. Yes, if you can impress them. What is one quality in a person you recommend to work on? Uh, I think attitude, I give more importance to attitude than knowledge. So if your attitude is good, knowledge can always be taught. This attitude cannot be taught. Okay. And many recruiters I have spoken. So let me give this example. So I know one person who recruits for a PV company. So I asked him, like, how many people did you interview? He said, I might have interviewed 1,000 people. Then I said, are you happy with the knowledge they have? And most of them are pharmacists. He said, he is not happy with their knowledge. And the company have now decided not to focus much on the knowledge aspect, but on the attitude aspect. So they are hiring people with good attitude, training them for 3 or 6 months based on the work they have, and then recruiting them. So, yeah, attitude. So second year hospitals can give, but I think it might be too early. Okay. So because once you go to hospital, you should contribute. Okay, or at least you should learn. So in second year, because that is the first time you will be talking about pathophysiology, pharmacology, etc. So maybe you might not make most out of your hospital visit. Yeah, so that is mostly fake. So I know many institutes, what they do is, so they put a fake job profile on Naukri, etc. So students think it is a job and then they will call that it is a job. Then they will say it is not a job. You don't have knowledge, you should join our training. So that is the nonsense they do. So no actual recruiter will demand money. Once you are selected, nobody will ask you for money. Definitely that is a fake call. So don't fall trap to such people, and there are hundreds of such people. Okay. And and they are targeting me for educating students not to fall trap. So no proper institute will ask means if you are selected for an interview or something, they will not ask you money for it. What are the startups funders can start? So you can start any startup. So right now Surya is working on a startup which can detect a lot of diabetic things with non-invasive way. Okay. So if it is related to healthcare, that will be great because that is your area of expertise. So right now I'm working for a startup called Health Cloud AI, which is an healthcare related startup, but I'm not the founder. So founder is Nitesh. He was working in US and he moved back to India with the startup. And I'm giving him all the healthcare related aspects. A lot of families are part of our company. So in general, if you are very confident with your healthcare knowledge, you can work out on healthcare related startup. But if you have some other idea, you can start whatever you wish. And one thing I wanted to tell here is many times when I talk to Surya, he says, how long will we recommend our students to work in CRPV, etc.? Why don't we recommend startup as one of the career options? So when I was working in Health Cloud AI, our office was situated in a co-working space. So there were around 200 offices along with ours. Okay. So all those 200 startups, out of those 200 startups, more than 150 startups were related to healthcare. So right now everybody is focusing on healthcare. And even Sharmila ma'am has mentioned that, right? So being alive is the most important thing. All other things are next. So health is the first priority and life is the first priority. So there are a lot of startups focusing on healthcare. So if you can just Google and find out startups working in healthcare, and you can connect with them and you can say, this is your expertise, and they will be definitely interested to at least give an internship, if not a job. Okay. So one more thing I want to share here. So recently I got in touch with an e-clinic, which is a remote clinic. Okay. So there will be a remote clinic. Clinically, a clinic will be situated somewhere in remote part of country. Okay. And that clinic will be handled by a nurse. A patient will come to that clinic. Nurse will connect into doctor through telemedicine. Doctor will suggest some drugs, and the prescription will be taken printout and given to the patient. Okay. So now I'm trying to talk to them and see if I can monitor those patients. So they already shared three patients drugs with me. So right now I'm working on those three cases and I will follow up with them. So I think this will be a very good opportunity because there are hundreds of such remote clinics where nothing much is done about monitoring the patient. Okay. So if you can involve there and take up all the aspects after consultation. So after consultation, doctor gives a prescription, you'll analyze the prescription, you will talk to the patient, you will educate the patient, you will follow up the patient and see the response. Okay. So I think our health cloud AI is, I think we already spoke with 10 or 15 of such startups where I want to involve pharmacists in post consultation follow up. So you can find out such companies, approach them, and maybe start with an internship. And if they really like, they can even give you a job. See, AI is involved in everything, but here I am not involved in developing the AI thing. So I am developing all the contents for AI. Okay, so I will not be involved in those algorithms, those formulas and all. So they will have their own way of machine learning, etc. So I will give all the input data for them. Okay, so my expertise will be healthcare, and my technical team will make use of this data which I give and make it as a part of all the algorithms, etc. So you don't have to learn all the tricks of AI. So if you have expertise in your field, you can tie up with a person with technical expertise and then uh, contribute. Okay. Okay, so any questions or shall we?
Yeah, I think now it's time to close our session, sir. So now I would like to request our dear beloved principal sir to give a conclusion report on our webinar before our vote of thanks.
Thank you, Joseph. First, I would like to thank Karthik Rakam sir for inspiring talk on this healthcare professional, which is more helpful for all PharmD students. So, on behalf of our college, we are very thankful, Karthik. I hope you are doing well on this COVID-19. So,
Yeah. Yes, sir. So in fact, I should thank you, sir, for all the opportunities. So,
yeah, but actually today Satish is not there. I think he is in US and he is stuck there. If he is also there, it will be
yeah,
good.
yes.
And I hope that these type of sessions you have to arrange for our college. And whatever the important speakers, you please let us know. Definitely, you
Sure,
can
sir,
conduct
definitely.
faculty development programs as well as some short activity programs for family students. You can also give suggestions for us, and hope we
Sure,
can
sir, definitely, sir.
coming days. We had used this platform as a and the next change of this post-COVID era. So these are the, finally, I would like to thank Sharmila Madam also for coming, for sharing her valuable time with us. And I congratulate the organizers for making this program grand. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Now, I take this opportunity to welcome Dr. M. Satyavati Madam, Assistant
Yeah.
Professor, Vignan Pharmacy College, to address the gathering with her vote of thanks.
Thank you, Nisi Joseph. Thank you, Nisi Joseph. Extended hearty good evening, everyone. I am Satyavati, Assistant Professor of Vignan Pharmacy College. Firstly, I would like to thank our Chairman, Sir Dr. Lavu Rattai Garu, and Vice Chairman, Sir Lavu Krishna Devarailu Garu, for this opportunity to organize this type of session. I also like to thank our dynamic principal, Sir Dr. P. Srinivas Babu Garu, for his continuous support. And I also like to thank our Dean of Academics, Dr. Satish S. Gottipati Garu, for his continuous support. And I thank to all the panelists and organizing secretaries, Dr. Sheikh Sharmila Ma'am, Dr. N. Satyavati Ma'am, Dr. G. Shana Jyoti Ma'am, Dr. P. Shivaram Sir for organizing this webinar. And I thank Elmandeshwara Sir for his technical support. And I finally thank to all the faculty members and students of Vignan Pharmacy College who supported directly or indirectly for conducting this webinar in a grand success way. And I thank to student coordinators Santosh, Nisi Joseph, and Thanmay. And I thank to all the participants for your patient listening. Thank you all. May God bless you all. Stay home and stay safe. Thank you all.
I once again thank you all for your active participation and patience listening. Thank you each and everyone. Bye for
Yeah,
now.
bye.
Thank you, sir. Karthik sir, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So please share that recording with me. I can share with other people.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Sure, sir. I will share with you, sir.
Sir can go through the YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube, I have already shared the link, sir. So,
YouTube.
yeah, YouTube channel link I just, means I already uploaded as my WhatsApp status. So I can share that here. So I can do it.
Okay, sir.
Thank you,
I'll
sir.
share
Thank
with
you.
you. Sir.
Okay.